6 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting of the Board of Health for May 4th, 2026 to order. And since we do have a member on Zoom, we'll start with a roll call. Anita?
Bea Bronkhorst here.
Maureen Riccici here.
And Susan Schwartz here. And all of our votes will be done with a roll call vote. Do I need to read anything ahead of time, Heidi?
Because
Only for fully remote. No,
Okay.
because the actual meeting is here. So no,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, great. Can I have a motion just to open the meeting?
so moved.
So
Second it.
moved by Maureen and seconded by Bea. Roll call vote, Anita?
Bea, aye.
Maureen, aye.
And Susan, I. 400, and David cannot be here today. So we will get started with the meeting with public comment. I know there's one person in the room. I'm not sure if there's anyone on Zoom.
No one on Zoom.
Liz, do you want to come up?
Sure, thank you. I'm glad they replaced the owl because it didn't seem like it ever responded when it was supposed to. So maybe these are better. That's great.
And Liz, if you can just give your name and your address, and you have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Hello, my name is Liz Coles. I live at 4 Beulah Road and have been a Bedford resident for 27 years. All 3 of my children graduated from Bedford Public Schools and went from kindergarten to 12th grade. My youngest graduating in 2018. I've been a math teacher at John Glenn Middle School for 18 years, and I'm currently in my 2nd year serving as president of the Bedford Education Association. In that role, I am also a member of the Healthy School Hours Working Group as the teacher representative. The Healthy School Hours Working Group was formed this past September after the Bedford School Committee asked the superintendent to explore the possibility of later start times for middle and high school students. My understanding is that the Board of Health initially encouraged the school committee to investigate this change. That's why I'm here. As the working group began discussing school start times, we received significant feedback suggesting that start times are not the primary issue affecting student health and mental health. Technology use is. It's worth noting that the Bedford Public Schools already adjusted start times in 2011, largely driven by student input. At that time, the high school start time shifted 30 minutes later, and students were overwhelmingly supportive. This was before school issued devices. Many students had phones. In fact, my own children had their own phones in about 3rd grade, but they were limited to calls and basic texting. Social media was not yet available. 14 years later, when the topic resurfaced, student perspectives had changed. Many were opposed to further start time changes, particularly because a later start time would eliminate early release Wednesdays. Students consistently described these afternoons as essential downtime, an opportunity for unstructured time and otherwise very full schedules, which they felt supported their mental health. This shift in perspective is not unique to Bedford. At the state level, the Massachusetts legislature has recently moved away from efforts to mandate later school start times. Instead, there's a growing focus on limiting student access to technology, including proposals for a statewide school cell phone ban and restrictions on social media use for children under 16. This mirrors the feedback our working group has received from students, parents, and staff. Technology use is the central concern. As a result, our working group is beginning to shift its focus towards student technology use. One example is the use of one-to-one Chromebooks at the middle school. In 2018, the John Glenn Middle School Council voted unanimously against a one-to-one device policy. However, in fall 2020, due to COVID, devices were distributed to all students and the curriculum adapted for remote learning. 6 years later, that model remains in place. In the meantime, society has become more aware about the perils of screens and social media. Unlike my own children who had their own phones in 3rd grade, a large percentage of JGMS parents have not given their child a phone, but we do give them their own Chromebook. Sadly, many students show addiction-like tendencies with Chromebook usage, and the staff is concerned. Next year, the high school will be looking at a challenging implementation of a full day ban on cell phones. And at Davis School, which is kind of the canary in the coal mine, they are seeing the dramatic impact of children having less unstructured free play in their lives and the resulting decrease in social skills and resilience. Is that my 3 minutes?
No,
Yeah.
Okay.
she's speaking on behalf of the committee. Recommend we let it.
No, I was just gonna
Yeah.
let her
Okay. Is that
continue
okay if I
anyway,
finish?
but it
Sorry.
wasn't 3 minutes.
I didn't time it.
No, it's okay.
Thank you. So I'm here today to ask for your support in helping the town shift its focus from school start times, which we're still working on, to healthy technology use. For example, would the Board of Health consider sharing guidance with the community based on American Academy of Pediatrics recommendations for screen time, both in and out of school? Would you be willing to support a One Book, One Bedford initiative around the anxious generation, which explores the impact of technology on childhood development? Could you consider helping to promote opportunities across the town for unstructured screen-free play as recommended in the anxious generation? And would you support efforts to secure funding for things that are expensive, like Chromebook carts, so that we can move away from one-to-one device model at the middle school? In closing, I want to thank you for the many hours that you all dedicate to serving our community. Your work is deeply appreciated, and I hope you'll consider supporting this important effort as well. Thanks for your time.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for bringing this to our attention, and, like, it's something that we'll look at
Yeah, thank you. I
and
appreciate
work
that.
with the schools.
Yeah. Yeah.
We tend to work through them and our own youth and family organization.
Yeah.
Can I have a copy of that, or can you email it to me?
Yeah, I can email it to you. Yeah,
That'd
I
be
was
great.
thinking
Great
about
to have a
yeah.
copy.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I will. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Liz. Nice.
And 3 minutes is never as long as you think it is.
Big font, right?
Okay, great. Anyone else on Zoom? Okay. So seeing no one else for public comment, I'd like to close public comment. And once again, Liz, thank you. Staff reports and liaison reports.
Jackie, do you wanna start?
Sure.
Kick us off?
So I'll start with number 9. Impact Melanoma accepted our application to put 4 sunscreen dispensers around town. One's gonna go at the tot lot at the playground, one at Depot Park, one at Springsbrook Park, and one at Saborn Field. Installation is planned for May. The people from Impact Melanoma come around and put it up, so it won't be me doing it. But this year, Cert and I are gonna work together to maintain the integrity of the sunscreen dispensers. So I worked with Susan, we made a Google form, so when Cert members go around, they can document like the integrity of the dispensers, clean it if there's any, just with wipes, and then if I need to replace the sunscreen, then I can go and do that. So just like another check. For number 14, I'm working with all-night grad coordinators. I'm not sure if that's the exact right term, but to put a blurb in the newsletter to make parents and guardians aware of the Narcan distribution cabinets located around town. Just some feedback from parents asking that the health department make Narcan more available for students going off and to college or their future endeavors. And it sounds like that although we put out a lot of outreach about the Narcan distribution cabinets, it's not getting to everybody. And that's the school age is what we've historically having, or like the parents, guardians of the school age kids having trouble to getting outreach out there, just kind of like a group that we've been having trouble to get outreach. So I think putting a blurb in the all night grad newsletter will be really helpful. I realize 16 and 24 is the same thing, but 16 and 24. Actually with Susan, attended the Trails Committee meeting on April 14th to enter the final steps of approving our tick warning signs. We changed it to beware of tick. But I emailed the Trails Committee and just waiting for their feedback. And then once I get the feedback, I'll send it out and get them printed. And then we can start putting everything. We can put the, it'll be larger ones at the kiosks and then smaller, like, I'm forgetting what it's called, like the little trail marker to go on the trees. Because those are fine for trees versus like nailing a sign into a tree.
Yeah. And just if I can, one quick thing about that is historically we've had signage at the trailheads, but as you know, so many Bedford trails you can get to from lots of different routes. Mm-hmm. And so the idea is to put the trail marker notices about ticks on those different entry points.
Great.
Then 21 and 22 are on the same lines, but we have finally put in all of our sharps and medication disposal kiosks. So the police department has a medication disposal kiosk and a sharp disposal kiosk. The sharps disposal kiosk was not working very well at the police department, but it's fixed, so now it's in top working order. The fire department has a medication disposal kiosk and a sharps disposal kiosk, and the town center has a sharps disposal kiosk. And all of them are emptied on a 2-week schedule. And it seems like since the police department kiosk is, sharps kiosk has been fixed, things have gone very smoothly, and there's no overflow, and it's been going very well.
So how do you plan to advertise all of that?
I put on Thursday, I put to the health department like a newsflash on the health department website. I put on the HHS Facebook website. HHS Facebook, and then the town reposted that today, and then I sent it to the Citizen.
Okay, great.
So hopefully that covers as many people as we can. And then my Maven wasn't working for a few days, but now it's working. So HGA, we've had 1 HGA case, 9 influenza, 1 Lyme, and 4 COVID. So 2 tick-borne, 1 Lyme, and 1 HGA case.
What case? I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
Human granulocytic anaplasmosis.
Oh,
Yeah,
and
sorry,
apoptosis.
yes.
Oh,
Sorry. So
I know it by that name.
yes,
So you said 1 anaplasmosis,
and 1
1
Lyme.
Lyme, 4 COVID, and 9 flu.
Yes, and I'll make sure that's in the chart for next
Oh, great.
time around.
Thank you.
Going around, Anita, any questions for Jackie?
I guess, and maybe this will come up in Heidi's report. Any update on the opioid settlement grant use or anything, or is that just still going on?
I wasn't here because last time Olivia was here and she discussed
Yes.
the results. They're still I'm not exactly sure what she said, but I know they're still sifting through the results to get more finalized results. We had a meeting a couple weeks ago, and she was just saying how it's going very well, but they're doing more of like a deep dive into the data with her intern.
Great.
So they're still working on it.
I just know that that's a hot topic. you
Yes,
know.
yeah.
Any questions?
Yes, Jackie, can you talk about number 20, about the potential AED?
Oh, yes. So a senior year student, emailed the fire department who sent it to us because the health department does the AED program.
Yeah.
And the student's interested in fundraising money to put an outdoor AED at either Saborn Field or near the JGMS tennis pickleball courts. So I've just been in frequent contact with her. I gave her an update on I went to our vendor to figure out how much it would cost for new AED and a new unit to be. So I sent that over to her. And then I actually got in contact with Nikki Taylor, which is very helpful. I'm forgetting the name again, but there's a fields committee. It's not called a fields committee,
Right.
but a group to talk about different changes they want to make to the fields. So I told Nikki about the student, and the student knows about the committee, and then just kind of guiding her with next steps. And I can be a person she can ask questions to.
So I'm surprised that a student would need to raise funds for this. And why is that not standard equipment that's on an athletic field? I know the athletic trainers travel around with the
Right.
AEDs, but I would have thought with the renovation of that field that would have been considered, as well as the pickleball court makes perfect sense over there too. And couldn't that be town sponsored? Is there a need for a student to be raising funds for this?
I don't know the ins and outs of the budget.
I mean, I think ultimately it's up to, the student can raise money and then she
Sure.
can do it, like the town, we have to just but it's, as it was presented to us, right, we have to, it's not just about the purchase of the item, it's because it's going to be out, this would really be the first one that's out, this would actually be the first one
First one
that
outdoors,
actually
right,
outdoors,
so,
right,
yes.
storing outdoors. So similar to the challenges that we have, and you've heard us reference this to the Narcan,
Right.
storing the Narcan outdoors, it's just this, the temperature fluctuations could be problematic, so we have
Okay.
to resolve that. If you're going to have if you're going to have temperature control, you're clearly going to have electricity to it. So we need to, work with either facilities or probably facilities on that part of it. It's nothing. I I think it's just one of those things, Maureen, that like just didn't like wasn't on anybody's radar necessarily.
No, I just thought, yeah.
And so, like, she brought up, it's a really good idea. I mean,
yes.
initially we were working with the trainers were really great, and they were, starting to carry them with them instead of having to, run back to like a school building to actually retrieve them. But I think it's important to be mindful of use, like especially if funding is going to be an issue, which it will be. I mean, we'll look to try to strive to either support her fundraising or to try to see if we can build it into either ours or the school's budget. But that's going to be, it's obviously going to be, we want to be prioritized and then probably build into it. And then, of course, it becomes a maintenance issue. Like the biggest part of our budget for the AED program is the maintenance budget. So
Right.
we have the vendor who goes, to go to every one of our AEDs twice a year, changes out batteries in the units, tests the unit, changes out pads, anything that's been used, and then, bringing it back. So it's like a little bit bigger. I don't think it's something that like people would be resistant to. I think it's just a matter of like building the program. you
Right,
know?
no, I was just
Yeah.
questioning like, so if she does the fundraising, it still then becomes part of the town, gets absorbed into the program? Or-
Yeah, it would. I mean, and we can work with her. I mean, I don't know. Like, we don't really know like what her ideas and thoughts are around it. If she wanted to do like health related, like
Right.
activities to do some funds. Or
Right.
I mean, a lot of the fundraising can actually raise awareness too. So that's
Yes.
like especially if it's
Not a bad
if
thing,
it's a high school student that's doing it. So we would look to sort of like take advantage of that bit, I think, as well too, to be able to reach that population as well as parents. So they're not always
Right.
reading our stuff.
Right.
Folks that are in that demographic.
No,
So
great
I think it's
PR.
just a really great opportunity to kind of explore and expand our program. But again, it is ultimately will be a budgetary
Oh, sure.
And I love that it was student initiated. Like we have some crosswalks in town that were student initiated. It's the same idea where they see a need in bringing it forward.
Right.
And it may be the fundraising that they do helps get it out there, and then the town takes it over.
Right.
But just the awareness that having them reach out is huge. And thank you for working with them.
Thank you,
Yeah,
thank
it's
you for
cool.
explaining that.
And you
Yeah.
have an intern coming in, or you?
by the skin of our teeth.
Yes, by the skin of our teeth. Yes, we do have an intern. She's gonna be my intern, but we're gonna work with the food bank and youth and family services. So
Okay.
it's like she's a health and human services intern, not just
Okay.
like the health department intern. So
Great.
excited to have an intern.
Right.
I'm gonna be meeting with her in a couple of weeks.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I just have one question. The Sober Truth, Hunter Flores, is that who spoke in Lexington?
I'm almost positive, yes, but I think it was two. I think it was
It was
a brother,
both of them.
but yep, it's one
Okay.
person now. Yes,
Okay.
yeah. So
That would be great to get scheduled and have him come in because it was very eye-opening.
yeah, I know. The school is JGMS is working to kind of put it into. I think they want to put it at the beginning of the. JGMS is working to put it in their schedule. So I've been in contact with them a couple times, but it's ultimately up to JGMS to figure out when they want to have it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's going to be during the school day. So
Okay, good.
Great, thank you.
Great. Anything else? Thank you.
Anita, anything? Anita?
Anything, Anita? Anything more? Okay.
Alrighty, Marisa, you wanna go next?
Sure. So as I mentioned in the last couple of meetings, the health department is working on food safety education that we're going to be rolling out between now and February when food establishments are permitted again. So I just want to preface that as I go into the comments about the annual food inspections. Most of the inspections went well, but I just highlighted a few areas that we're still seeing some issues. It's a trend, little things like date marking on the food when they're in the refrigerator, that's absent, or just altogether incorrect. Improper cold holding temperature, so maybe the food is in there and able to grow bacteria because it's in there a little bit too warm. Not wearing gloves, I think I mentioned that even last week. Disposable towels absent at the hand washing sink, which doesn't sound maybe like a big deal, but it is to me because I'm wondering, were you not planning on using the sink? And if you were, where were you planning on wiping your hands? So things like that. So I'm just keeping, a list of what we see that's recurring from month to month to give a targeted food safety education for these establishments. But we did not have any food complaint inspections or food complaints, so that was great. Even our housing, we had a housing complaint. Actually, let's move down. Well, the nuisance complaint was one that we do see I think I've seen this 2 other times, once each year, where the dumpsters are open behind the shopping plaza at 168 Great Road, and that stuff starts to blow into the wooded area, and then it ends up in the stream. And there's 2 different property owners between the stream and the shopping plaza. So that's always fun to track everybody down to make sure that there's almost like a line in the sand. Okay, you've got the stream, you've got this part of the wooded area. And unfortunately, they don't always work together in unison as you would hope, because if one party cleans and the other doesn't, then more stuff will blow. So, but it's being managed, and the property managers at both locations are receptive, so they understand that this needs to be addressed and maybe looked at more proactively instead of waiting for complaints to come in. There were 2 animal bites. Neither of them warranted, well, I wouldn't say warranted, but neither one of them resulted in a quarantine. There's normally a 10-day quarantine for the animal, but there was no address known for either of these animals, so we couldn't track them down. Even with paperwork coming in from urgent care, there was just no information on that. What else do I want to say?
In that case, Marisa, do you ever follow up with the patient?
Yeah, oh yeah, the health department always follows up with the patient. I know one of the animals was vaccinated. That was from a cat bite, so that animal was vaccinated. The other one, our animal control officer, I've got to give it to him. I think he's been hanging out with the police a lot because he turned into a little detective. He realized that the bite happened near a construction site, so he went to the construction site to talk to the construction workers, because he thought either they were probably the ones that actually went to urgent care, and then just try to track down information that way. I haven't heard back from him just yet, but we always do follow up with people that do get bites. And then the last thing I want to mention is my managing hoarding cases in the community. The 12-week professional certification has come to an end. So last week was the last week of this pilot program, and all the work is due this week, but that was very eye-opening, and there's a lot of research that I don't think most people are really aware that's done. This is hoarding disorder. It's got comorbidities with ADD, OCD. It's brains of people with hoarding disorder actually look different on MRIs than people that don't have hoarding disorder. There's actually a family history that's involved with this because of the physical structure of the brain. And then what I wasn't aware of is that there's actual federal protections if they are diagnosed with hoarding disorder. So they can be covered under the American Disabilities Act. There's a Fair Housing Act, and then there's a Rehabilitation Act. So there's different federally funded programs that can help with reasonable accommodations. Just because a lot of times people with hoarding disorder do end up getting evicted just because they can't meet timeframes for landlords. And judges are now being educated in this as well. So I think this is helpful all around for, being fair to people that might need a little bit more.
Yeah, and I would just add on that, like Marissa, it was a lot of work for you to attend that training, but even you sharing that education with us is so beneficial because, just like many other things, people don't think it happens in Bedford, it does. And so just understanding, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, so this doesn't have to do with, people being lazy or dirty. Again, some of it just is how your brain is structured, or if you've had unresolved trauma or grief or loss, people can live amongst all the clutter and have clutter blindness. They don't see. Oh, the other thing that I found fascinating was that people with hoarding disorder, their brain is lit up all the time. So that means they think everything is an emergency. So that means when their mail comes in and they have to sort through it, it's exhausting because it's just as important as if their stove was lighting the house on fire. There's no differentiation in the brain. So it's very exhausting to be them.
No,
Thank
appreciate
you.
that. Questions? I'll start, Maureen, with you.
No, thank you, Marissa. No, thank you.
Anita, any questions?
No.
Okay,
Bea?
thank you.
No, I don't think so. That's great.
Marissa, you know I have a question.
Oh, okay.
So just my question is on the re-inspections of the food establishments.
Yeah.
And I know that you're going to be doing an outreach of education campaign as part of, like the re-permitting. Is there anything you need from us? Because I know when food establishments hear from us,
Yeah.
it just
There,
it supports what you're doing.
yeah, I mean, going forward, I think there's going to be a period of time where people will probably be in the Board of Health quicker than they would have been before. It's going to be
Okay.
just a certain amount of violations or a certain type of violation. Then they'll come quicker than they normally would for an administrative hearing with me, and then I'll give them some action plans. And if it's still not working out, then we'll go to the board. But I think this way of working keeps everybody safer. It actually gets to the heart of the problem quicker. And I think that overall, even though it might feel like more work in the beginning, in the end, I think there's going to be less work going forward for everybody. And the food establishments are going to remember secondhand, just quickly what to do, because the food code is huge. And, I've heard from many food establishment owners that they don't have time to look at it. They're lost when they look at it. So I think it's just going to be important for this education to make sure that we cover the most important part of that food code. It'll be like Cliff Notes for the food code.
Yeah, that would be great because we've always said that education is our first line. So thank you. That's all I had. Anything else for Marissa? Thank you, Marissa.
Okay.
Heidi.
So next is me, yeah, so, lots of meetings this month, kind of the turn of the calendar, the springtime kind of gets everybody out and about and thinking about new exciting programming. So, I'll let Susan speak to the Bedford Safe, campaign, but this month was our, every year the boards of health and health departments actually are required to submit documentation. This is new with this new state legislation, the safe SAPHE, Safe 2.0 legislation, required to submit an annual report to the Department of Public Health showing how you are progressing towards meeting the foundational standards that they've established. Going back about 5-6 years ago now at this point. So a big survey, there's a big survey that they offer up every year with like about 260 questions, 270 questions that meets the qualification for that submittal. So I did that on behalf of the department. I'll share the findings of that. I'll share my reporting of that to you. Basically, they're gonna collect all of this data to kind of see where departments stand relative to each other. I think they did a deep dive in looking at all of the state regulations that pertain to health departments, boards of health requirements. Some were very, very, very picky. Some were like really great and easy to check off because we do them like it's like the back of our hand. So, but yeah, it was kind of a little eye-opening, and in conversations with colleagues, sort of questioning like, we have to do this kind of thing. And then some were like, okay, well, of course, this is some are able and have capacity to do more. So it looks at your capacity to get the work done, your capacity to meet the standard, and if you aren't meeting it, what the barriers are. So, and they were really clear about like, is it that you don't have enough staff? Is it that you don't have enough training? Is it that you don't have enough funding? So trying to figure that out, and I think that's going to then help inform eventually or ultimately how the funding, where the funding pools are going to be available to the regional organizations from the state. We are also now a authorized vendor to the state. I signed us up to be that. So if by chance, which hasn't happened in many years now, but if by chance there are funding opportunities available to locals, either, I don't know if it's gonna happen like as a result of like being more compliant or less compliant with the standards or however they're gonna how that all shakes out. But we're ready to go. Matt worked with me and we got the paperwork in order for that. So if funding becomes available, we can apply and should be like an easy pass through as far as that goes.
Great.
Although there has been no funding available in recent years. And I don't know, I haven't really heard what how the state budget was accommodating local public health. I think it was level funded. It wasn't, there was no more money put in, recommended to be put in. Kicked off our first household hazardous waste event in April, and it was a doozy. And there was a lot of activity at the Lexington landfill. It's always at the Lexington landfill. There's a lot of activity that day, and some, I think, miscommunication kind of happened with regard to allowing that much activity to be taking place. It was beyond just our event. There were other Lexington activities taking place that same Saturday. So we have a monthly meeting in advance of the subsequent household hazardous waste collection days. We have 7 more events, collection events. So next week, our next event is the weekend of Memorial Day weekend, the Saturday Memorial Day weekend. So that's might be tough for some people that travel, but that's the date that was available with the vendor. And then and that's the 23rd. And then June is the 20th. It'll be on the 20th. And the Bedford CERT team is staffing that. And the 2 folks who have experience in working at our hazardous waste events in the past, so I'm quite confident that'll go smoothly once we get the other sort of scheduling issues resolved with the town of Lexington. We're grateful for them hosting this event and this household hazardous waste collection program for many years. I mean, there was really, if we were going to do something regionally, I can't even imagine where it would end up being if it weren't at their large, really well organized facility. I think because it's such a large facility, though, they think that they can like bring in, have all these other events. So again, it's something we'll get sorted through. We'll get sorted out. We did. The conditions were ripe for our regional mosquito contractor to do the helicopter application for the larva sighting in our wetlands in town. So that's good. Timing is important for that to make sure we hit it when the larvae are going to be out. So they were able to get that done at the end of April. And then they'll start with the next, as you know, we have a robust program, so they'll start with the backpacking. They'll go in and do backpack larva sighting in areas that couldn't necessarily be reached by the helicopter, and then the larva sighting will be provided to our DPW folks to do the catch basins in town, and then following up with testing and regular testing during the summer months, as well as any adult larva sighting with the spray trucks. What else can I talk to you a little bit about? I did just a really great septic field training at the Carlisle Board of Health. The new health director there, Kelly Callow, as we know, our former agent here, is now the director there, and she coordinated it with this vendor who does, installs, and just really great to hear boots on the ground stories and understand really how, we don't see that a lot here in Bedford. We don't have a lot of septic systems. I have the training to be able to observe, and if you don't have that experience in seeing them, you kind of forget a little bit, or you need those refreshers. So it was really, really helpful to me to have that experience, to attend that training one afternoon a couple weeks ago. And I guess I can leave it there. I did want to make a couple of announcements that tomorrow we do have the In Waves in War movie that's being shown through the veterans agents, the regional veterans district, and our VSO in conjunction with Youth and Family Services. And it's, I think I mentioned it before, but a movie that addresses veterans with PTSD and their search for resolution of their symptoms, and traveling to other countries, typically Mexico, to receive psilocybin treatment.
Okay.
So we have 35 individuals signed up tomorrow.
That's
We hope to have
great.
some walk-ins as well. It's here in the Read Room.
Okay, what time?
It's right at noontime.
Mhm.
We have lunch first, some gathering, and opportunity for camaraderie. We'll have the movies just about an hour long, as my understanding. It's a Netflix documentary. And then we have a speaker coming after to kind of wrap it all up, bring it all together
nice.
for us. So yeah, it's gonna be, we're hopeful it's a really nice and well-attended event. And we did a lot of outreach to very specifically to our veteran partners. And it's because we have a regional district, this is with the town of Lexington and the town of Carlisle as well. So all residents and anyone that wants to come is welcome, but we really did the concerted focus with those populations. And then today we had our Yellow Tulip event. We did the planting a couple years ago, had our first tulip event last year, planted more, bigger event this year with rock painting, which was really lovely. And you'll get to just go out into our little circle here and you'll see the tulips that are still in bloom, as well as these really pretty rocks, some with nice sayings, some with really pretty designs on them, and just another opportunity to bring people together. It was at our Happy to Chat benches. So making use of that resource, that new resource in town too.
And I participated in that, and I want to thank Bedford TV because they got a number of us to speak. So that will be posted as it has each year.
That's great.
Really touting the community supports for mental health and also loneliness.
Yeah, and again, it's an event and a program that is co-sponsored by Emerson. They've provided some the funding for the tulips, and they actually provided the tulip bulbs for us and some signage and such. So they've been good partners on that, and they have a Hope Garden themselves. So we kind of copied their little garden area.
And I know you're going to give an update on the food bank, and you provided that. But before we get to that, just on your report, any questions, Bea?
Or can you just remind us, anything from MCAC at all?
No, I haven't heard back from them about they haven't They promised me they would get back to me once they've devised their application program process for funding. It's a big entity.
Yeah, just thought I'd check in.
Absolutely. Yeah, as soon as I know, I'm sure I will most definitely, report up to
Just,
those.
because we throw on acronyms, this is the
It's the Massport Community Advisory Committee.
Yes.
That consists of community representatives of communities that touch Massport airports, as well as the Port Authority.
Right, and our inquiry was about testing pollution, air pollution,
They do a lot of noise. There's a lot of
noise
noise
too,
as well
yeah.
as
but ours was
our issue in consideration. Right, exactly, with the ultrafine particles.
fine part,
Yeah.
yeah. Thanks.
Anita, anything from you?
Nope,
Maureen?
fine, thank you, Heidi.
I just have a question about number 14 on the human trafficking.
Oh, yeah.
Because when we talk later about goals, I was just wondering if that is something that we may want to start to explore a little bit more. So if you can give us a little bit more.
Yeah, so there's you may or may not be aware of the fact that there's an aspect of unsavory activity that occurs at these unregulated spa type locations in communities across the country, but across Massachusetts. We're focused in this area as well. So, and I say they're unregulated in that they offer massage type or body works type of activities, but because they're not actually listed or advertising as massage, they're not required to be regulated. And just as of note, the regulation for massage is done by the state. They took that away from the local health boards of health did it for many years.
Yes.
But going back even before my time in public health, they took that one aspect away. And so there's very few, inspectors that have to serve all of the massage therapy entities. And of course, we know that most of them are very reputable and work on the up and up and get the right regulation. Get the right permitting and go through the correct training, and also. But it's there's some that aren't, and they're just offering either some sort of hands-on body work. And there's a move. There's been I shouldn't say a movement, but there's an opportunity for local boards of health to establish regulations to regulate these sort of in between entities, right? That are I shouldn't say in between, they're not captured by massage therapy, but they're doing some sort of hands-on body. And the opportunity is this body works regulation. So if you do something that's not massage, but you do something there's something called Tweena, which is an Asian, I think it's a Thai type of body rubbing kind of thing. If you're doing like foot rubs, if you're doing Reiki, which is not even hands-on, but you're in a private room with someone and people and you have various, levels of clothing on and such. So the consideration with the Body Works regulation is that either typically local health folks in conjunction with police have an opportunity to inspect, right? So there's people who are going in, taking off their clothes, on a surface that has a fomite that could hold bacteria or get dirty, and the consideration is that we want to make sure that it's safe and hygienic. And then because of this unsavory component of it, where there is a potential for human trafficking, because folks who are from Southeast Asia typically, or if other Asian countries come here, are trafficked here, and sort of paying off their travel here and held. It's happened. There's been stings. The FBI is typically run by the FBI, it's managed by the FBI with local police department assistance, and it's troubling. It's troubling that we're only finding, so outside of our regulation, right? We're only finding out about these either from our PD or from these sort of anecdotal conversations, or if someone picks up on or the FBI reporting, etc. That it's happening in your community. And what happens is that the FBI, again with the local PD, comes in. They take the phones from the workers. They arrest usually the guys that are there, typically men that are there receiving services. They subpoena the women, tell them that they have to come back to a court date, but they want to provide them with some protective services. So they offer them shelter and a place to go, and we'll take you to a place that's safe. We'll offer to give you new phones to use. But quickly they're swooped off. A van comes, picks them up, and they're ushered off to some other location. The owners are never around. There's typically a manager around. So that's sort of the story around it, and it's very typical. I've kind of played around with the opportunity or the idea of implementing something like that here. When you go on and you look and you start doing your research, there's 2 or 3 locations that might fall in Bedford proper that might fall into that category. The problem with communities that do implement regulations is that all it does is drive the businesses out of town and into a neighboring community and somewhere else. So it's like the early days of tobacco when you're doing one-off, doing a regulation. It's only going to push it outside and now until the state does it. And now it pushes it to New Hampshire, right? So it goes, but it's a little bit farther to go for the service or to receive the product in the case of tobacco. I'm not quite sure that that's really the road to go. Being a regulation, I'm more interested in knowing what the supportive social service agencies that provide supports to these cultural communities have in place.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we're starting our research on that.
Okay.
Because we feel that there may be, and we're definitely not. I mean, it's a curiosity for us. Jackie and I we had one case that we were kind of working on around this, related to this topic. So we're starting to explore what might be available because we feel like and again, we don't feel that we have the knowledge and necessarily the resources to be able to support them. If we were to walk in and say, hello, we introduce ourselves, but first of all, we don't speak the language.
Mhm.
We're very broken. It'd be very difficult to communicate. I feel like, these supportive agencies would be better suited for that. They also have more access to the resources, we presume.
Mhm.
But we haven't heard from them, and no one has really reached out to us. We don't have a lot of them here, but other communities do have a lot. But just in the public health realm, we're not hearing about it. And had some communications with PD on it. They don't know. They know about our domestic violence services network, folks who are fantastic and have all those resources. And it was actually my outreach to Jackie Apsler, the executive director, that she got me connected with some of these Asian specific entities, social service agencies. So we're going to be doing that outreach, see if there are resources available. If not, ask them. I don't want it to be like, oh, we're going to close you down, and they're at the moment where there's the raid, and there's police activity. We want to be able to. We're hopeful that someone will go in there much farther upstream and be able to try to intervene and do some sort of intervention. I think it's going to be really, really hard. I think these women, and mainly women who are coming, are held in servitude to these people. Their families are threatened. They're told to pay. They're told they're going to be here working for this individual for years and years to come to pay back their fare here. So I mean, it's a terrible situation. I know just a little bit about it. I'm not excited about, but I want to learn more about it because I feel like there's opportunity here in public health to intervene, not just here. I mean, this is sort of my wearing like my former MIHA president hat, thinking like this is definitely something that that we could have a big impact on, I believe. So anyway.
Yeah, I appreciate you giving that because we are going to be talking about goals and also liaisons. And it may be something that like a member of the board wants to help with that research. Take some of that off of your plate. I don't know, but I saw it in your report and I was thinking it may be something that we'd like to help
Yeah,
with.
it doesn't sit well that, there's a sting that happens, folks go in and then they disappear. That's just that this doesn't sit
that
well.
doesn't go well.
No.
Not at all.
So, it's time to make some, and you know what, maybe people are taking action on it, that I just don't know. I mean, I find that hard to believe because we attend all kinds of public health meetings and it's never been a topic. You folks attend, the MHB, maybe more in the domestic violence realm that, they're talking about it a little bit more, but I really feel like it has to be very culturally specific because you're gonna lose folks if you're not. I mean, I've been into airports and you go into the restroom in the stall, you shut the door and there's a little sticker on the back, like if you are being
Right.
But I'm like, could you have it in a language besides English? I'm like,
Right,
people are like,
yes.
gonna be able to,
Okay, well,
So,
thank you
yes.
for that.
No, my pleasure.
Anything else on her report
No.
before?
Nope.
Anything, Anita? Okay.
So then I gave you our little snapshot of our food bank activities, which are 6 years strong, 6 years plus strong now at this point. We have fluctuated between 200 and 250 households. Thank you, Jackie. Per week. During various seasonal fluctuation. We have 500 plus, households just overall that we serve that are on our rolls. And our number one, the entity that provides us with 80% of our product is expecting a $10 million deficit.
Right.
So what do we do? We have realized that we cannot fully rely upon Greater Boston Food Bank. They're fantastic. They've been a fantastic partner to us. But we realize, we're recognizing that they're being strained, with the SNAP issue that happened in the fall, with SNAP benefits going away and then coming back and then not coming back as robustly. Folks are relying upon, it's not a safety net anymore. It's an actual like food service. Like it's a service line that they're dependent on. We do our real best. We do a really good job. The team does a fantastic job at trying to meet that need. But it's really hard. And we don't have the funds. We don't have town budgetary funds to do this work. We do have a financial partner. The Bedford Food Pantry has worked with us for many years. They provided us funding for staffing and for some other things as well, and also been a conduit because they are a 501c3. They've been a conduit to help us apply for some grants for equipment and for some staffing. So we've been grateful to them, but they have some limitations as well. They've had some turnover in their membership. And the new folks are working really nicely with us, but we have to have some really hard conversations around what is going to be available to us from them in the future. We did start when the SNAP issue happened back in October. We did open, and I've mentioned this before, we did open up the food bank fund and have raised money through that. But Danielle, what has come, not a lot's come through.
No.
There's one individual that sends us $20 a month, and we're grateful for that. But the monies that we receive from our funders to support our staff, our part-time staff, we need $120,000 a year.
Wow.
So it's a little bit of a conundrum. We have a little bit of time, and we had a really nice, we had a robust fundraising fall and winter. I think the fall, the SNAP issue, people got really anxious about that, and people were very generous. Then Christmas time, holiday time came, and people were looking for places, and they, because food insecurity was such a hot topic, were very generous. We raised about $70,000. We raised about half of what we need in a year just for staff. That doesn't backfill. I mean, that doesn't account for backfilling any of the product. So we no longer get free product from Greater Boston. They give us an allocation, a weight allocation, but then they used to have a separate market of free product. So we could get supplemental eggs and milk and frozen proteins and such, and oils, things that like are really expensive, and they're really hard to come by in a pantry situation, and just very expensive in the grocery stores. And then, of course, we would love to be, as culturally appropriate to our clients as we possibly can as well too. But it's just become very difficult with the
What's
limitations.
the annual budget need for food?
For us?
Yeah.
Oh, our budget. Oh, I don't have the budget with me, Dee. I'm sorry, and I'd love to talk more in detail about
Yeah,
that at some point.
whenever you have it would be good to.
Yeah, I mean, the budget for the food bank, all things considered, like to run the food bank here is $800,000.
Wow.
But we get free product or in-kind services that accommodate a lot of that, right? So that we're only really, I shouldn't say only really, but we have that 120,000 that supports the part-time staff, and then we have our food bank manager's salary is paid for by the town. Now fully paid for by the town.
Yeah. Okay. And I appreciate you giving us an update, because I know we have some other things on the agenda, but one thing is our goals. And we did talk food insecurity as one of our goals previously. Anita and I had worked on it. And at that time, we did something, but this may be an opportunity to see what else we can do.
So
if you could just help educate us, you've probably said it before, but I just want to know. So is SNAP pretty much gone, or is it
nope,
just?
SNAP is available. The state of Massachusetts is supporting SNAP.
Yeah.
Yes,
it
they
came
have.
back.
They've continued to
Okay,
support.
so it is 100% back. Well, I mean, it's from the Massachusetts.
Yes, I'm not quite sure that everybody got 100% back of what they were
Okay.
getting previously. I mean,
Yeah.
there were definitely more supplements that were coming through to folks during the COVID.
And do
years.
you have another question? Is do you ever are aware of like meetings with other towns who have food banks, or like
We're connected through Greater Boston, so there are regular
Yep.
meetings of the pantry. They call them the pantry or food bank organizations with a member agency. You're considered an agency when you're a member of Greater Boston, and there are regular Zoom calls on that. There's an open forum, and weekly email forum that goes back and forth, so you can plug in questions or see what other people are doing
great.
as far as resources. I mean, Carla, our manager, has been so great with the other staff as well in just finding other places to acquire free stuff
Right.
from,
Right.
and that without that, I mean, Gaining Ground, who's been so fantastic during the summer months for us for the produce, fresh produce from Concord, like they actually gave us stuff over the winter too. Like it was really, really helpful to help support a balanced provision, package that we were
Yeah.
able to provide. And now the ways that we do it is so different as well. We have the drive-through, we have home delivery, and we have our food lockers as well. So, we don't have a big space. We would love to convert to a pantry model, provide people agency to choose what they would like to, like to have, as opposed to being provided the bundle. So that's the.
Do you have any, I mean, I know these are very hard questions, but do you have any understanding of kind of a potential time when more funding would go away, or do you understand any of that horizon right now?
No, we don't know. I mean, annually the Greater Boston Food Bank does their annual report, and I mean the need is growing. It just continues to grow.
Yeah.
I think it was Middlesex County was 34% of the population had accessed food from a food bank or food pantry. I mean, you say not in our backyard, but that's a third of the population. And the numbers they're broken down by the various counties. So that need is there. I mean, they're looking at the $10 million deficit. So that means that they're gonna have, so it's all this competition for resources, right? So like, we're competing for funds, they're competing for the same funds, right? And there's other organizations in town that are competing for those funds as well too. Like, I mean, food insecurity is but there's other, there are other needs, of course. We totally recognize that. I mean, yeah, who knows?
So,
Who knows? I mean, they're
is
not
it-
subsidized. They raise money, right? So like they're raising their own monies from, they have corporate donors and they have, large donors, but we do rely upon them for the majority of our product.
So I'm thinking, like, isn't like the release of the budget, state budget, isn't that like a big deal for all these programs, right?
I mean, a lot. I don't know. I mean, probably for SNAP, like the way that people receive the funds, like there's just so many different pots of monies that are allocated for different types of programs. Like for instance, the whole program whereby you could acquire fresh fruits and vegetables from farmers markets, utilizing your SNAP benefits, and then the money would come back to you. That's gone. So those programs are gone. And so like that was like people see how that was connecting farmers. It was providing resource and providing funds to in a method for distribution from Massachusetts farmers. Food insecure folks were going to farmers market and having access to the fresh foods instead of frozen or instead of canned or dented cans. You know how that all goes, unfortunately. But yeah, those types of programs just aren't being supported.
And just like local residents are trying to figure out if they're going to donate, where they donate, the state has to figure out where funds are going to go.
Right.
I know that Representative Ken Gordon has office hours every month, I think it is. The last time, there were a lot of different groups asking for his endorsement for the money that their groups are losing at a federal level so that the state can fill in the gap. So there's a lot going on.
There is
So
a lot.
when we do get to the goals, I'd like to just discuss if this is a goal we want to
Right, because I just was
Should
wondering if there was
bring
like
to attention.
some kind of deadline or pending, budget event.
I mean, the
or
budgets
something.
haven't been settled yet, have they? For the
No,
for
no.
the
Not
state?
at the
So
state
like,
level.
I don't know. I don't really know where that all sits, to tell you the truth.
They closed up last week.
Last
My
week,
son-
the Senate
My son works in the
finished.
general councils and they've finished up whatever work, looking at all the things. At least they've been
The House
vetted.
did, not the Senate.
Yeah, the House did.
Yeah, the Senate hasn't.
So
Yeah.
they're in process. Yeah.
Any other questions on the food bank?
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving this update.
Yeah.
Liaison reports. I'll start with the Council on Aging Board is focused on medical rides, determining what the need is and how to satisfy that need potentially with looking at donations, other funding sources, et cetera. We talked earlier about Youth and Family Services and the Hope Garden and not only the tulips, but the Happy to Chat benches and the inspirational rocks, like really trying to give community members a place where they can congregate and talk about whatever they want to talk about. Those are the different things that I had from a liaison standpoint. Anita, any liaison updates? Okay. B?
Trying to remember if we have an IBC?
I don't think since
No,
last.
not this past.
They're in the
month.
process of doing, Karen's in the process of coordinating all the inspections,
Mhm.
which will get done before the end of June, so they've been busy with that. I think we just reviewed some IBC minutes.
Yeah, Oxford, yeah.
And
Maureen?
I'm meeting tomorrow morning with Sarah McGinley, Chair of the School Committee, to talk about the potential either formal or informal liaison opportunity with the school committee. So I'll report back on that at the next meeting.
No, because that's something that had come up previously.
Yep.
And I know in past years, we've had informal, and I believe we might have at one point had a formal liaison role, but I'm not sure about
I don't
that.
think so
not to
either.
the school.
No, not to
No.
the school?
No,
But I'm glad you're connecting with her because I had reached out and just said, you know, like, what can we do?
right, so we'll see, we'll have a chat tomorrow.
No,
And
that's
as far
good.
as you know, David, remind me, he took on RAB maybe?
He took on RAB
Yeah,
and, yeah, I think it was the RAB meetings.
Was.
And before we get into the next part, I was just wondering, and I guess I don't know where it exactly goes, does anyone want to give anything from MAHB?
oh yeah, I'd love to hear that. I missed it for the first time in a long time.
Anita, anything from MAHB that you wanted to just highlight?
No, other than it was another great conference.
Did anybody ask, anything by Mike Hugo about anything about, charter or bylaw?
Yeah, Anita, you spoke to Cheryl about the charter and bylaw changes, right?
Right, and then you went to go talk to her too.
Yeah. And what we ended up with, yeah.
At the time, she said she was going to follow up with B, but apparently she hasn't.
Nope.
The indication I got where the email that I had read into the record of what
yes.
approval meant,
Right.
that seemed to be
I'm
okay.
satisfied with that, yeah.
Good. Great, thank
It
you.
was very similar in the morning part about going over Board of Health Authority again and
Mhm.
Right.
hearings, the usual,
Mhm.
and then some divergence in the afternoon. But-
The one thing that, sorry,
oh, no. We connected with Susan's invitation with the people from Carlisle came over and had lunch with us at our table.
Oh,
So,
nice.
yeah,
That was
yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Oh, nice.
They were sitting at an adjoining table, so we had lunch with them.
and the one thing that was interesting, I'm not sure how it affects Bedford yet, is they were talking about best sites,
Yeah.
which are the, see if I can say exactly what they are, battery energy storage system sites
Oh.
and the public health concerns that come with
Oh,
those.
right.
So something to maybe have on our radar in the future. There is one town in Massachusetts that, through a zoning bylaw, has a law against best sites. But the concern is if there is a fire.
The fires
Oh, I
was the
know.
biggest concern.
So I'm trying to remember, I thought there was a town around here that has one.
There are a number of towns
There are.
that have them.
There are data centers and.
And there are some that are moving forward fine, there are some that are being fought. But that was one thing that they brought up and just it should be on our radar.
Did they mention anything about Plymouth nuclear facility?
No.
Because that
Nothing.
was like doom and gloom.
No,
Nothing.
it's unfortunate the way the conference tends to go. It seems like you get these kind of very interesting pressing issues and they're happening at the very end when people kind of wrap up and people are trying to leave and so it's a little frustrating. So there was not time for a lot of questions at the end, right? That was my, yes.
I agree.
mean, yes, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So if no more liaison or staff reports, how about the minutes?
Yeah.
And I'll start with thank you once again, Danielle.
Yeah.
Oh,
excellent.
it was a huge lift.
Yeah, a little longer this time, but it was just a lot of
Yeah, it was.
stuff covered.
Well, it was a lot with getting all the stats down from Olivia.
Right,
Yes,
yeah.
That was hard.
Oh, yeah, huge.
Anita, anything in the minutes?
No.
I only have one little spelling thing.
Okay,
Yeah, there was just.
go for it. What
Page
page?
4, it's just under animal inspectors. I think it should be Miss Porter provided a background regarding the inspector instead of then. I just didn't make sense to me, yeah. Okay, that's it. But thank you, it was wonderful. It was, I must say, it was very helpful in listening. Olivia had so many slides and so much that she presented. It was helpful to read it again in the synopsis kind of view, so Appreciate that. Danielle.
Yeah, I was like, I hope that's not like too confusing.
No,
No,
no, I
it was
think that
actually
you
very helpful.
Instead of having,
having
like,
heard it
laying
from
out.
her, but then to
Yeah.
have a chance to kind of digest it again was
Right.
helpful. Thank you.
Anything, B?
No,
Okay.
very good.
I just had something on page 4 where it talks about the annual town meeting. Just to clarify, in case anyone reads this, where it says the town voted to approve Article 26. And after the last Board of Health meeting, Matt Hansen, after the last Board of Health meeting, which was before the town vote,
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Matt Hansen, town manager, sent an email to Susan Schwartz, which explained what approval means according to a bylaw.
You want
Just-
the changed to Is that what you're saying? Or
Uh,
can we just say after the last Board of Health meeting occurring prior to town meeting? Or something?
whichever way, but
Yeah.
it was before town meeting.
Okay.
He sent me this. And I would just clarify, sent an email to whom? I would just say to Susan Schwartz, which explains what an approval means according to a bylaw, et cetera.
Maybe we can take out the town voted to approve, because basically what we want to say is prior to town meeting, town manager, in
Sent me
reference
this.
to Article
Yeah.
26. Prior to town meeting, Matt Hansen, town manager, sent an email which explained. I think that would.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying, Danielle?
So take out,
Take
the
out
first
the
part of that
town
sentence?
that voted, just say, in regard to Article 26, prior to town meeting, Matt Hansen, town manager, sent an email. I think that would.
To
cover it.
Susan Schwartz.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And then there was just one thing missing from the verbiage in his email, and Danielle has that. And my only other question, Heidi, is under the goals, where it says Ms. Porter indicated that town council did acknowledge receipt of, this was about leaf blowers, wasn't it Matt who acknowledged receipt?
Town manager?
Oh, no, select board. Yeah,
Select board.
the town manager.
Okay.
That should be town manager.
Thank you, that's a good catch.
Oh, good catch,
And I
Susan.
love this format, Danielle.
Yeah,
This
it's
is
very
great,
good.
very
It's
easy.
just very much to the point.
Yeah. All right.
So a motion as amended?
I'll take a motion to amend the April 4th meeting minutes as amended.
To approve the.
Yeah.
Is it April 4th?
So
Yeah, you want to say April 6th
I'm sorry, April 6th.
as amended.
As amended.
Seconded.
So moved by B and seconded by Maureen. B?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Maureen?
Aye.
Susan, 400. And then when it comes to the goals, you know, like we can step through them if someone had anyone that they wanted to discuss. The symbols at the bottom, we have the framework approved is an asterisk, the plus sign is completed, and 2 asterisks is ongoing.
So I guess just,
Can we just start at the top and work
Yeah.
our way
Yeah.
down? How about
Yeah.
that?
yeah,
So school start times,
I'd say completed.
yeah, that is with the schools now. So
Right.
I agree with you, it should be completed and with the schools now.
yeah. And then, yeah, the mental health, I'm trying to remember,
That one was sitting down with Chris.
yes, and we, I mean, that was a couple of years ago now.
Mm-hmm. 2022, yep, it was.
Yeah, yep. So
Is,
I'm
do we
wondering-
want to say that is completed, or do we want to open it up again with anything new?
Well, I guess that one of the things might depend on what Liz brought tonight. So I think it bears a discussion
That's
at a later
right.
time.
Right.
Maybe
That's
put
right,
that on the
yeah,
agenda, all
yeah.
right?
Yeah, I agree.
And it could look at comprehensive mental health, or it could be student mental health.
Right, so why don't we just say that that's ongoing,
Yeah.
okay?
So a future agenda item
Right.
would be what Liz had mentioned, yep. Okay, gun and domestic violence prevention, that's ongoing.
Yep.
And I'll just give a very quick update on that, which is Heidi Maureen, Scott Jones, Lieutenant Jones from the police department, and I continue to work on it. We're gonna have a campaign of messages that are out, and then also guns for gift card events that we're looking to launch with the sheriff's office.
Great. So sometime in the next couple months or?
We're hoping,
Soon. We're
Yeah.
aiming for June, is Gun
Great.
Violence Prevention Month.
Yeah.
Okay.
aiming for some
good.
activities in June and then some in the fall again,
Mhm.
Okay.
Great.
and just keep it going. So that's ongoing as
Yeah.
well.
All right, yeah, the fourth one, I know, so Susan, you did all of them, and you were so good, but I did attend the comprehensive
Yep.
plan
Working session, yeah.
working sessions, which
Yeah.
were, I thought, really, really wonderfully put together. Because, you know, they had a survey.
Bless you.
Had a survey that they built this around, you know, these around, and then, you know, during those sessions, it was just great. You came in and, you know, before the session, you were asked to rate the strategies, you know, description, because the whole idea is to focus on the strategies that people in Bedford want.
Mhm.
And it just was so helpful because there were people knowledgeable, local people who were knowledgeable about those different strategies. And then it was great because people would chime in and say, oh, but that's already covered by this, or that's, you know, they had details. Residents had details that maybe were not reflected in the strategy,
Mhm.
and that really helped to rate them. Oh, is this important right now or not? So I did the last one, which was the environmental stewardship and outdoor recreation.
Yeah.
And you were amazing. You went to all of them, which was really kudos, really kudos. But it felt so good to contribute to that, and yeah, kind of opened my eyes in terms of what is really important and what could be possible for many different things. Of, you know, I'll just, if you don't mind, I'll just read them really quick. Protect and strengthen Bedford's natural environment to support ecological resilience and sustainability, ensure residents of all ages and neighborhoods have access to parks and playgrounds. That was
That was a
really
key one.
central to what Anita and I had been working on, and support everyday recreation, relaxation, community gathering, provide high quality outdoor recreation opportunities for all ages by abilities by maintaining, preserving, and improving open spaces, trails, and facilities. So, yeah, I thought it was just very well done. I don't remember the timing. Do you remember the timing? What they were saying?
No, they're still working on
It's
the feedback.
really,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a lot, but anyway.
They do it every 10 years, so they want to get it right.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's correct.
So with our goal, you know, there's a comprehensive plan, and
Yes.
then Anita, I know you attended some rec department meetings, going back some as well. Is this something we should keep on our radar as an active goal and being ongoing, or should we restart it based on where we are today, only because we first put it on in 2022?
I think, I thinking multi-generational recreation or multi-generational collaboration, whatever
Right.
word we want to, should be an ongoing thing that we keep on our radar.
Yeah.
I think this recreation opportunities to support mental health is a little broad, but I think just keeping that on our radar as we monitor what happens with the comprehensive plan.
Right. And
Monitor,
other activities,
monitor what
Springbrook, et
happens.
cetera.
Could you have something that's like goals and then themes? And this would be like a theme? Would you consider like kind of breaking it down in that way? Like that this is something that can kind of thread through many
Yes.
Yeah.
goals
Yes.
over
Well,
time?
and so
or-
could mental health. So maybe mental health and intergenerational or multi-generational are themes. I like that.
I'm just
Just to
tossing
keep
it out
it there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're not specific goals that we're actively working on, but just
Right.
their priority themes.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Right, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the things that I've been thinking about is that I attended a bunch of rec department stuff, really made it clear that, went to some of the stuff about the Springsbrook Park renovation, really made it clear that there was a Board of Health had a real interest in this and raised that idea. The one area that I think is missing, and it sort of feeds back to what even triggered this idea with B in the beginning, was, the, I don't know, planning board, zoning board, bylaws. Somewhere in there, there's no requirement for new development to include sort of outdoor intergenerational spaces. This was all triggered by B being amazed that the apartment complexes that went in on Middlesex Turnpike didn't come with playgrounds. So that I'm not even sure whether the Carlisle Road project is requiring it. Certainly none of the MBTA community projects that are just coming up like weeds down by the Stop and Shop Plaza appear to have, any sort of real outdoor recreational space. So, but that one, that's like a Sisyphean project.
But Anita, is that something, do you want to pull together a framework on that and figure out, is it the planning board or who it is that we can advocate to on something like that?
Sure, I could dig into that. I could talk to a couple people.
Yeah, and if you want it, because then we can figure out based on the framework, is this something that we can take on? But
Yeah.
yeah, if you don't mind.
I don't really think it's us, but it's like that's not in. It doesn't seem to be like a goal of any of these other areas.
Right. And I'm not saying take it on per
Right.
se, but to advocate for it.
Okay, all right. I will take a look and I'll report back.
Okay, cool.
I like Heidi's idea of themes, because when I looked at this list, it's like, oh my God, it's so broad, there's so much.
Yeah.
And I think if we can keep a list of kind of priorities, themes, these are public health concerns that we should always be aware of, so that if we keep those visible, then when things happen in town, whether it's a comprehensive plan thing going on or zoning wants to put, if it's something that feeds into one of our priorities, we can do a letter of support.
Right.
A public
Yeah,
letter, and I think
yeah,
we
that's a
have
great
I think
idea.
we can have a strong role in some town doing that. It's not that we take it on as a goal. It's not something we're going to accomplish, but we're going to say from a public health perspective, this is a plus for the town.
Yeah.
try
And
to-
going back to what we were discussing earlier about human trafficking, it's supportive services could be a theme.
Right, yeah.
Mental health could be a theme. Multi-generational could be a theme.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
And just going through the list, continually looking at our regulations, that's always ongoing. And again, climate change
I-
could be
I-
a theme.
I think it's a theme, take it off,
Yeah.
it's too broad to make a goal, but we're already doing something at it related to Hanscom Field and the, Professor Huda and those type of things, so it's a theme.
Yeah.
That we will maybe not have goals, but sometimes we will take action on those items.
Right.
Okay,
I agree, that would be a
The
theme.
reproductive health service, I mean, that was kind of a
we're done with
one
that.
That's done.
time.
It's done.
It's done.
Yeah, that's
It's done.
done.
It's done.
Food insecurity, based on what we discussed today, is this something that, like, either Anita, you and I, or if anyone else wants to get involved, it seems like, B, you had a lot of questions on it as well. Maybe we reopen that and see what additional support the Board of Health can give.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm really interested in what the trends are, so we can be at all ready. I don't know how to plan, but I'm sure everybody is in the same boat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real
Okay.
guessing. Yeah.
So is that something you want to work on?
Yeah, sure.
Anita, do you want to work with beyond that, or based on
Hang on, I had to
continuity?
come off of mute. Sure, that'll be fine.
So he's saying that's ongoing then?
Yeah, but switch it from me and Anita to B and Anita.
Okay.
The bike quiet,
It's done.
It's done.
It's done.
Ventilation,
It's
It's just like reminders.
I don't know that this year is the year to bring up a goal on that. I still think that there's a role for as individual homes, or I think it's more institutions in town, whether it's businesses, churches, clubs, things like that, as they look at redoing heating system, as they look at updating, windows, whatever things. I think of the church, we advocated there that if you're going to change your heating system, what are you looking at? How many changes of air, now recommended by CDC,
Right.
to make it so that it is less conducive to viruses. I think we acknowledge that we will probably have another pandemic in our time, and what can we do, even if it's just an education thing or sending out something to things saying this is the recommendation, please consider if you're doing this. I don't know, but it certainly isn't the top priority for me this year. But
maybe it falls into climate change.
Well, I think it's climate change, not so much. I think it's if somebody's updating their heating system or moving to, what do you call it, heat things, pumps, and things like that. But I'm looking at institutions that are
Right.
that are having to upgrade or change things. And I guess when I first brought this up years ago, it was looking at all the new knowledge there was about air exchanges and what could be done to reduce viral overload in indoor building spaces. So we know this will be crucial again if we have another disease pandemic that is airborne. And it's going to be too late to think
Right.
of it once it happens. So I'm not sure. Let me think on that one a little bit. If there was even a quick CDC or an EPA handout for, businesses and institutions about upgrading to do that, maybe it's just a mailing to business partners in town or to the VFW, churches, people that are looking at systems in their buildings. I don't know. It's just, I was very aware during COVID that was certainly something that that we learned from that. That was,
Yeah,
that was a takeaway.
had they been more upgraded and updated with proper
Proper
turnovers,
filter.
Turnovers,
proper
the air
filtration,
exchanges, and then
could businesses have been opened up? I mean, and when it's like, again, it's still going to be probably statewide that
Right.
they're going to be making these decisions and
Right.
determinations, but like, it's something along the lines of sort of like the stretch code, or what is it, the electrical
Oh, right,
code,
right.
with
Right.
like getting everybody off of, I might even be mincing words, but like the goal towards getting residential properties on electric as opposed to fossil fuel.
goes right, yes.
It's like, is there something along those lines that are that's in the building code, or that the state building code is working on? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know the answer
Yeah,
to that.
I doubt that this is I haven't heard anything talk about a state code to make this, but I think about
Yeah.
individual companies, like how do you either keep the viral load down so that you have less people getting sick, or you allow it to be open, Or something like churches, it's a question of, do people feel comfortable gathering in your spaces?
Yeah.
And if people are scared to come, then you know, you lose, then we're increasing loneliness, we're increasing, you know, all those type things that are part of our goals. So it's one of those things that's, you know, let me do a little
Yeah,
over
I'll
the
do
next
it.
months, do some research and just see if there's a simple thing that can we at least hand out. And then in some way, we've done our due diligence. If we can educate people on what the latest public health guidance is about this,
Yeah.
you know, whether they choose to do it or not is up to them. But
I'll do some digging too.
yeah, you know, I mean, I don't want to take it off forever, but it's
No.
it's not a top priority
Yeah.
right now.
And then on the COVID response evaluation items, we had made great
Yeah.
progress on those. And I just wanted to note our number 3 was conflict management training. And Heidi, I noticed in your report, you actually did some of that training. That was the first item on your report. So I appreciate you doing that, you know, just as your own education
Yeah,
and
sure.
everything.
No,
But
absolutely.
it,
It's helpful.
yeah,
De-escalation, conflict
Yeah,
management,
yeah.
you know, those
Yeah.
trainings come up all the time.
yep, no, that's great. B, you and I worked on the communications, and I think there are always ways to continue to improve. But what I'm hearing from people is that they are seeing our information better. The thing we're still missing is, in my opinion, is the community really signing up for the e-alerts.
Right, but
Yeah.
I think that's something that needs to come out of town manager's office.
Correct.
That pushes the whole thing. These are the
Right.
alerts you can get, you know, just us sending out something saying, please sign up for our health alerts. But I think if that was done.
Well, is there
And I
a
wonder if
way-
we could advocate for, you know, I mean,
It's simple,
I
it's simple.
sat
It's
at town meeting, and as it was going over, they do that scrolling in the beginning about news. Why can't there be something up with a QR code there? So
Yeah.
you've got the 250 people there right away say, oh, I don't sign up for
How
that.
Yeah.
about the 14,000 people that receive the you know, the every 5,800 households that receive a census,
Yes,
right?
something
Or
like
the,
that.
you know,
Yes.
all the staff that receives, all the residents that receive tax bills. I mean,
Yes.
there's mailings that could go out. It could be the same thing.
And a card inside of
Yeah.
it says
So
with the
what do
QR
we
code.
need to do? In your opinion, what do you think would be the
We just
best
need to
way?
design it and send it and say, can this go out?
Yeah.
Those two.
And just do
those
it.
two things. Just
So
do
we're
it.
designing it for the whole
Yep.
town
Yeah.
communications?
Yeah, why
Yeah,
not?
okay,
Why
okay.
not?
All
Why
right,
not?
yeah.
It's gonna benefit us, and
It's
then
gonna
everybody's
benefit
gonna. I mean, there's that. I would imagine
This
everybody
might
would get
be a
behind
good
it.
time of year to do it, because if we wanted to hit the census.
I also think that some work we're not doing it, but some movement on this goal has been Great Meadows looking at social media messaging, right? You know,
Yeah,
that whole,
right.
so, you know, we're part of that too. So
Exactly, and
the
that was
5 of
one-
us might not be actually doing the work, but
We
it's.
can ask our summer intern too. This might be a nice little project.
Oh,
for
that would
her,
be
or
nice.
something, Cause
That
it's
would
like
be
risk
awesome.
communication, health
Yeah.
communication.
And I think by.
It's very simple.
And I think by the, we're gonna test out what kind of response we get possibly to social media and the gun violence prevention. So it's
Yeah.
another way that we're looking at how we're
To
enhancing
learn
that kind of.
how's that.
And we're saying, oh,
Right.
we realize that we have to use social media more, so let's see how that plays out,
Yeah.
you know, so
But
I think
we-
we're working on it. This
Yeah,
is
we're
our-
definitely, and, you know, I look back to the framework that B and I had pulled together on
Yeah.
this, and
Yeah.
we're ticking things off of it.
Yeah.
Between social media,
Mm.
Great Meadows, the e-alerts,
Yeah.
and just actually, Heidi, what Jackie mentioned earlier, where she posted it on social media about the kiosks and everything, but then she also did the whole HHS posting.
Yeah,
And then
that's
the
our
town
sort of our
picks it up.
norm now. Our norm is to do like the Facebook, definitely the news on Facebook. I'm sorry, the news on the website, the Facebook post to HHS, and then we always ask the town manager's office to share it, the Facebook post to them. And then Rec actually has the biggest following in town.
Yep,
Yeah.
Those biggest, so
Wow.
they'll do stuff for us too.
Okay.
They're part of HHS. They've
Right.
committed to doing that
Right.
for us. We could try to pick and choose the messaging that
Right.
goes out,
Right.
but
I think
just so that people aren't
Yeah.
fully, aren't
So I
inundated.
think, you know, like that came out of COVID and everything, but I think it's been evolving.
So I
ever since
believe that is ongoing, and I think what we
Yes.
just talked about earlier was that if we have these themes we're paying attention to, but I think the more we can use our voice as a board to support things around town, and as we support, we're stating our rationale, which is in public health, this is an issue.
Right.
It's another way of
Yeah.
communicating issues and education about public health, you know, so
Yeah,
I
that's
think it all
great.
fits together.
Yeah.
So just an
Thank
ongoing
you,
board
that's
goal,
great.
yeah.
Okay, the task force.
Well, you know, we haven't done anything more than people said, but
Yeah.
you know, I'm struggling because I said this to B. We talked about last year, we'll pull them together for these annual meetings. I'm still unsure about pulling people together. To what end? You know, you have everybody come to a meeting and it's like, hello, unless it's you come to a meeting, I just want to make it worth their while. I don't want to turn people off to just attend one more meeting. We don't have anything too much to say now. So I'm just struggling. I'm open to ideas about that.
Yeah.
Some of the players have changed where we got
Yep.
buy-in from people. We have a new police chief coming
Yeah.
on, you know, that might be worth going in and but
Because part of it also is, in my mind, was to help with the communication, to get these people, you know, to sign up who were part of groups who could
right.
do blasts to their announcement lists and so forth.
I guess I think that, you know, just having people were enthusiastic saying, yes, we'd be willing to participate. So I think there's been that outreach. And I think if we hear wind or there's something starts to happen, we just pull them together sooner than later. You know, and say, even you pull them together and say, we're not sure what's happening here, but it looks like something's coming down the pike. And we want to start the kind of collaboration around town.
And I'm not sure if this would work, but I'd like to put it out there. It's almost like a tabletop exercise. If we came up with a scenario of whatever it is and invited people either in, physically together, or we run an exercise where we notify them about an issue. What are they going to do with it?
Mhm.
You know, like, and pose it to them and say, you know, like, how would you push this out? Because some will know how they're going to push it out. Some might have to figure it out. So it would be nice to sort of test it. And I don't know if that's a tabletop exercise or just a simulation
Let
of
me think
something.
about
I
that.
don't know. But it would be nice to put it out there and see if they say, oh, this is what I signed up for. I didn't realize that. Or they say, oh, I can push. You know,
Do
I
we
got-
have actual names attached to the
Yeah.
players?
We do. I mean,
We did.
so for instance, the Rotary at the time, I'll give them as an example. The Rotary was changing their leadership, but I contacted who Ralph told me would be the incoming, which was Paula, who's now with the food bank. You know, she was enthusiastic. So some players haven't changed. You know, I have to go back and look at the list because basically they were town officials.
Right.
So it's whatever town officials have changed. You know, we didn't extend and go out and reach out to BEST and parent groups. I mean, that they're going to be ancillary. We're looking at this initial group of kind of town players that were going to reach business, you know, town institutions, some faith
Right.
institutions, those things, not
Something about the
little,
chamber,
not
yeah.
the 50 little organizations in town.
That's right.
I wonder if you could accomplish what Susan's, I mean, because I was thinking about that too, like, so we're supposed to be prepared from an emergency preparedness
Right.
perspective, right? To respond to, you know, as I said it 1,000 times, the crop duster full of anthrax that's
Yes.
gonna spray
Yes.
all over Bedford, right? And we test that with our annual flu clinic. So we actually do have a functional exercise to do that. That said, I think there's a lot of people to bring together for this, and I think
Yes.
it's a lot. I agree with you,
I
Maureen, I
think-
think it's too much. But I think you could with a very concise and a well-constructed survey, you could accomplish similar to what you're wanting to get,
Yeah.
which is like a sticky note thing. You want people to go up to the board and tell you how they're gonna do X. So if you ask them, you know, this is the scenario, this is what we need, this is who we need to reach. How are you going to help us reach,
Okay.
how can you help us reach these? What resources are available to you? I'm just thinking, it has to be well constructed.
Yes, it
But
would
I
have to
think
be.
if we had all of that available, because maybe there is one pocket of this community that like
We're not
only
reaching.
one group has.
Yeah.
And we can like reach them because the faith-based organizations have this like massive list
Right.
and they're reaching, you know, and it'd be good to find out, like another question is, like the age groups that you're reaching with your
Yes.
outreach,
Right.
because
Yes.
we know that was a gap
And
for
how
us
are you
too.
reaching them? Because there could be something where the internet's down.
Yeah.
So how are you reaching people as
right.
well? But that's sort of what I was thinking, almost like a Google form
Yeah.
that
Well,
people
all
can
right,
fill
let's
out.
think on that. Let's put that on,
We
on
have
this
our,
year.
so the individual, so Kelly, when Kelly left her position as the regional coordinator, we hired the intern that worked with Olivia on the safe, on the
Right.
opioid work,
Yeah.
who has a background in epidemiology. The new position is regional coordinator slash epidemiologist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this would be right up her alley. I think
Okay,
that
good.
she would help to devise a survey that is gonna meet all of those qualitative goals,
Okay, then
right? With
when-
input from the board on the
Maybe
quant,
we
on the
meet with her.
quantitative.
I wonder if is she working full-time, and so I would have time this summer to sit down and just play around with this. You know,
Okay.
when things quiet down a little bit, you know,
Yes.
that, not in the middle of the rush of the year.
Right,
But let's just play around with this. So leave it as a kind of ongoing, or for this year, I guess.
Yeah.
And
and
Yeah,
I
so-
think with a slightly different bend to it. You did the initial work, now
Right.
we just need to test it.
Yeah.
Right, right.
yeah,
So it's ongoing.
okay,
Vector-borne diseases is always ongoing,
right.
and that's actually a theme as well.
Mhm.
And
our intern's gonna be working on messaging around that.
Yep.
And
Right.
outreach and doing some like hands-on public presentations to camps and, you know, people involved and engaged in outdoor activities and making sure, you know, that they're aware of
And I think
what's going on.
that as tick season gears up, I think we've got to do some more messaging about alpha-gal.
Yeah.
Oh,
Really
Yeah,
do.
yeah, Jackie is,
It's-
she didn't
she's
mention
working
it.
on that.
Yeah, I don't know if she mentioned it in her report, but she is working on an article about that.
You know, because it has huge impacts
Yeah,
on
the
people.
tick signs, I mean, the trail work that we're
Yeah.
doing too is directly
Right
related
onto
to
this.
this.
So this is,
So, I mean, there's a lot.
active right now.
Yeah,
This is
yeah,
definitely.
Very active.
And that's directly related to the theme of climate change too.
Yes, it
Yes.
is.
So like you
It
see
is.
that there's, you know,
There's
those
the
dashed
themes,
lines
right.
that go to everything, and I think
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can't, you know, speak of one without the other.
Yeah, so the themes, definitely. And then,
Can you add, just for that list of themes, I have it here, you know, we talk about it all the time, whether it's mental health, but just loneliness, I think that's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
huge one. And I wonder if we can redo this list, Susan, so it's not by years, because that doesn't make any sense. It's what are our active goals we're working on now? What are the, you know, what are the ongoing ones we're,
what have we
Paying
completed,
attention.
what,
and
Yeah.
then what are these themes over here that we're always gonna be looking at as we
Yep.
review everything, or something like that, and I'm happy to work with you on that, to kind of
Yeah,
come up with that.
or Heidi, you took, I don't know who has this document.
I do. I gave it to you, though, I thought. This, when, or last year, did I give it to B? I passed this one on.
But I think Heidi has it now.
I sent this.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, but it's, I only have a PDF of it, I don't
Yes,
have
it
it.
was just a PDF.
Yeah, I don't have it, but I can
Okay.
convert it over to a Word document.
Okay, I'm happy to work with whoever
Yeah.
has it in Word.
Yeah, okay.
And then, just want to put out some things that I found in my notes, and I don't know if we want to add them, I'm just putting them out there. One is something about pollution. Because in past Board of Health meetings, we've talked about Hanscom, we've talked about the highways.
Right, because actually I thought that we had talked about making some kind of goal around that.
We were gonna do communication about
Yes.
houses, but I'm just,
Yeah.
I'm a look for, what do you mean by pollution? That's really broad, so.
it
it's
could be
pretty
the
broad.
ultrafine particles that come from Hanscom, it could come from Route 3, come from
It could be
128.
PFAS from Hanscom.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
pollution.
It could be like fires, smoke from
Oh,
fires.
right,
You know what I
right.
mean?
Right.
What am I-
So I'm trying to think, what would be our goal about that? What,
Education, like
Education and
Stop
communication.
education, or I mean, there's websites that talk about fire risk and like, you know, when heat's coming up. It's I don't know. Pollution might not be the right term. It might
yeah,
be
I'm
like
struggling with pollution.
Environmental.
Is it air
climate or
quality?
environment-
It's air quality, yeah.
I think more so air quality.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
why I was
that's
struggling,
fine.
I was struggling with pollution, thinking, what?
Well, PFAS is in water, so
Yes.
that's not really air quality, but I mean
Environmental pollution.
environmental pollution.
How about that? Because that covers ground,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, environmental pollution, yes, okay, I can get
Okay.
behind that.
So I have a couple of different ones, but that was one that I wanted to put out to see if anyone wants to take that on or if we want to just keep it on our radar.
I mean, I've been working a lot, you know, from the Hanscom Air Force Base thing, but that's just one aspect of
That's
it,
one.
right?
I'm not willing to commit to taking it on, but let's just
Let's get it on the
keep it,
list.
let's
Get
keep it
on the
on
list.
the list, and as people have energy and time
Yeah.
or something comes up, then we move forward,
Right, if
because,
there's an
yeah.
angle
Anita,
that looks
any
like it's
interest?
something.
From your side? Okay.
Okay.
Again, I just went through all my notes. I have leaf blowers, but that
Oh, that's
is-
environmental.
that's tied right to it.
All right.
Yeah.
I also had human trafficking and making sure that people have the supports, but it sounds like that might be a theme first. But if someone wants to take that on as well.
You know, in terms of environmental pollution, maybe it could be an agenda item coming up soon, just to give us 10 minutes to brainstorm about what we think all the environmental pollution activities, you know, could be, and that might give us a start at
A
some
way
kind of
to
a
go
framework of
to
how
go
to
with,
approach
Okay.
it, or
Yeah.
something like that, you know.
That's fine. So the last two I had were human trafficking and also death sites. But it sounds like
What was the other one? Oh, best sites.
best sites.
Yeah,
Wait, what sites?
Best, the battery energy.
Oh, okay.
Energy ones. Those were just,
well, that's environmental pollution too, if they go on
Yeah.
fire, you know, I mean, it, you know, it kind
that's
of
huge.
fits under there, it's huge,
Price you
so.
pay for AI
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
really necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think we clean up,
Oh,
and if you can send me the list, I'll take
Yeah.
a stab at cleaning this
Yeah.
all up. And then we can move from there.
Okay.
Any other goals that anyone thought we should add or remove or update?
No.
Anita, anything from your perspective? Oh, okay.
This is
Okay, good.
I think this is the start, and then we can revisit it
Yeah.
and look it
Yeah.
over and see, yeah.
One thing
Because I'd like to have David weigh in.
oh, totally.
Yes,
you know,
totally.
so, yeah,
yes,
so,
yeah.
Okay.
Totally. The
Very
other thing
good.
I want to just put on everyone's radar as a discussion for the future, there is one more community dinner towards the end of May. And it came up at the last, I think, Bedford Common show, that wouldn't it be nice to have some board and committee members serve?
Oh, wow, yeah.
And it's a way of getting into the community. So I just wanted to put it out there to see, you know, like they would need more than just 5 board members. They would want, you know, like 8 or more people, but we could join with another board or
Yeah.
committee. Staff could join, whatever, but I just wanted to put it out there that I think
I
it's
think
a
that's really
great
nice
way.
because in the old days, that's what I remember. Like our church was involved with
Yeah.
like one of the.
The dinners. No,
Dinners.
it's a nice way to, again, it helps bring our faces to the community, so
Yeah.
they know
Yeah.
too, but it's also a way of
I'd be
service, so,
definitely
yeah,
interested.
I'd be
Okay.
interested.
It's a great
And
idea.
I can talk to the Rotary
Okay.
about that and basically just put up a sign up Genius for Us, and then I can open it up to other boards and councils in HHS or staff, whatever we want to do.
Yeah, and just see who's available, that
Yeah.
depends on the night and everything, yep, okay.
So I'll
That's
take that as an
wonderful.
action item.
Thank you. That's really great.
What night of the week do they happen?
It's the
Wednesdays.
4th Wednesday. Yeah.
That's good.
Is that right after Memorial Day then?
Yes.
Before Memorial
Yeah, I
Day?
think it is. I wouldn't put us for that one, but, and then they're taking a break for the summer, so it would be
Oh,
in the
okay,
fall.
I thought you were aiming for
No.
May, okay, all right, fine.
No.
All right.
Anything else before, Heidi, you wanted to talk about the go forward
dates.
calendar?
Oh, yeah.
The dates. Yeah, you did send it
didn't
out.
bring
I
it.
didn't look at
I
it.
had I brought copies.
I have it here.
Do you have it there?
Yes. So
Maybe
if
a
you wanna
different-
work, if you wanna work off this, then I'll just pull out my calendar.
Yeah, I went through my
I
calendar.
printed them all out and I didn't take them, of course.
Okay, there it is.
Yeah,
That's it printed out weirdly.
Well, were any of those, does anybody have opposition to those dates?
Oh,
No.
I
Sorry,
didn't look ahead of them, I thought we were gonna
I
go
didn't
through
look
them,
at
so,
them.
yeah, okay,
alright.
so let's go through,
We can
yeah,
go through them.
quickly. So what are the proposed dates?
Oh boy, this doesn't have the proposed dates on it, does it?
Yeah, did you-
Did you print the right tab? There's two
What
different
is all
tabs.
this?
This is what I just said print on what you sent out, what the
Oh,
link was,
why are
and
there
all
so
this
many
came
of
out.
them? All this came
Oh,
out, did I?
It might be
Hand
previous
load
years.
attachment.
Alright, hold on.
Here, I have it, Heidi.
Okay,
With the Board of Health meetings on it?
Yeah, well, I wrote them out,
That's really weird, cause it's an Excel sheet.
but it's the other tab. These are the
oh, I
dates.
just hit print, I
Okay.
got home at 4:30.
It just printed funny, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yes, you've got it, Joe.
Oh,
No.
that's a nice,
You're on the wrong tab,
What does that say? BOH meeting dates?
but it doesn't have 20.
I couldn't understand why all this stuff was coming out, what,
Sorry.
no,
Yeah,
that's
I-
okay, it was just,
how many tabs are there?
I don't know, I hit the wrong, I guess I didn't hit the tab.
Well, here are the dates. Those match yours. No, because these are Tuesdays.
So it'd be June eighth is a
9/28.
proposal, looks like June eighth.
I think the ones in white, I don't know, I didn't see this
We
original
already
thing,
had
so
June
I
8th,
don't,
didn't we, or?
these are
no?
probably highlighted or
Yeah.
something?
I already had that down, I think.
Can't tell if it's
Yes, we
black
had
or
changed it to
Do you
June
see
8th.
it?
Yeah.
You just have to go to the
Okay,
next
and
tab
then the next one is
at the top. Yeah.
July 27th.
Yep, hold
Yeah,
on.
I got it.
Yeah, Heidi has it.
Alright, so the first is, well, we already know May 4th, and we know June 8th. Okay.
Right, yeah.
So the first was July 27th.
July 27th. Yep,
Okay.
And then
August 17th.
August 17th.
Hold on one second. Anita, as we're going through these, just signal if you can just chime in if any of them are bad.
Yeah, I've just looked at the list and so far I don't see any problems for me.
Okay, great, thank you.
Then, so say July 27th, August 17th, which would be a tentative.
Right,
This
as
is where
if needed,
tentative.
if needed.
Then September 28th. Just trying to avoid all the holidays.
And then these are already where this room is
This room,
available?
these are all accessible, the room is this
Wonderful.
room, so that's why it's like working off of the select
Yep.
board and then filling it in between.
Yep. Great, thank you.
October 26th.
November 23rd, so I guess Thanksgiving is later.
That's that week. That's the
Oh, it's
Monday.
that week.
That's the Monday of Thanksgiving.
Yep, okay. Oh, and then December 21st.
December 21st, which is the Monday before
Yep.
the Friday Christmas. January 25th.
January. Oh, okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, and that's,
Mar-
okay, and then March, we're skipping February.
March 1st. We skipped February this year too, just because of the way it fell.
Yeah,
Because we were right at the end of January and the beginning of March.
right.
so what's the March
We'll
one?
just see.
March
Well, do we
1st.
wanna just go to the end of this year right now, or did you wanna do a whole calendar year?
We normally do,
The select board has already picked theirs and I don't want
Yes.
someone else to slip in, but
Yeah.
we're usually we're the second.
All right, I'm
we're
just,
second.
Yeah.
just asking, okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's a little flexibility with the other days if you wanted to do like, we were just having one on January 25th, so I'm like, why are we we're not gonna do February 8th, like 2
No.
weeks later
Right.
That's
necessarily.
right, that's right.
So March 1st, April 5th, which gets us farther away from town meeting, which is on March 22nd.
Okay,
So there's a whole nother week after that first
Oh,
week
yeah.
if we have to go,
Yes.
like we've been going lately. Then May 3rd and June 7th.
Oh, okay, and it's kind of like back to the first week.
Yeah, it kind then because
It
yeah, we
settled
we
down.
revert
Starting in
back to
March,
that.
we get back.
Yeah.
All right, they all seem fine to me.
yeah, they all work for me.
Okay.
And we just have to clarify with
I know,
David
but-
before we
Yeah.
we say for sure, okay.
Heidi, do you mind just forwarding it to David and just saying, these work with everyone else, how do
Yeah.
they work for
I
you?
mean, yeah, so far, I mean, I don't know.
It's hard.
Yeah, it's very hard, I don't, Sometimes you plan that far in advance.
Well, it happens, and vacations pop up in between
Yes.
too, so I'm
Right,
not
yeah.
expecting, I mean, this is just
Yeah.
like, right now, this looks
This
great
is
for
what, and you
everybody.
wanna
Yeah, so it's good to
grab
get the
it
room.
and put it in
Yeah.
there, yeah, I
Yeah.
can totally understand.
Excellent.
All right, great.
Anything else from anyone? I'll start with Anita. Anything additional from you?
Nope.
Dee?
Nope, I'm good.
Nope, sounds good.
Nothing from me. A motion to,
I move-
well, hold on.
Oh.
Anything more from you,
No,
Heidi?
let's wrap this up.
Danielle?
No, we're good.
I enthusiastically move that we adjourn the meeting of, what are we at?
May 4th.
May 4th, 2026. B?
Oh, I second it.
Moved by Maureen, seconded by Bee. Anita?
Hi.
Bee?
Aye.
Maureen, aye.
Susan, I 400. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Ooh,
you.
ending on time, nice.
Yes, I'm
Thank
gonna go
you.
walk.